Hi there everyone, welcome again to Indian Story Read Along. Okay, today we're gonna talk about a story that it's a little bit spooky, but it is in a series of spooky stories. So this is about a king called King Vikram, short for Vikramaditya. And there are a lot of stories about him and how he always liked to find adventures and help people and how generous and brave he was. So he lived maybe about like 1,000 years ago. These are when these stories take place. So King Vikram, in one series of adventures that he had, he promised a sage who was actually a demon. And he promised the sage that he was going to help him for his homa, his fire sacrifice, by doing something super spooky, going in the middle of the night, as you see here, and then getting a dead body, a corpse, from a tree and putting him over his shoulder and bringing him back to that fake sage demon for his sacrifice. And so King Vikram had to do this a lot of times, over and over and over. And this ghost that was haunting the corpse, he would always tell King Vikram a story. And then he would say to him, at the end of every story, he would say, "You should answer my questions correctly, or else your head will burst into 1,000 pieces." And he would curse him. So King Vikramaditya had to have the right answer, and he always had his knowledge tested. So these were stories that were actually testing the wisdom of whoever listened to them and whoever could figure out what the story was really about, just like King Vikram did. So let's get started on this story called The Wicked and the Ordinary. New Tales of King Vikram and the Vampire, the Wicked and the Ordinary. Dark was the night and weird the atmosphere. It rained from time to time. Howls of wind were subdued by the sound of thunder, and moaning of jackals by the eerie laughter of spirits. Flashes of lightning showed fearful faces. Wah! But King Vikram swerved not. He climbed the ancient tree again and brought the corpse down. As soon as he began crossing the desolate cremation ground with the corpse lying astride on his shoulder, the vampire that possessed the corpse said, "O king, I wonder if you are expecting a fitting reward for the pains you are taking. Know ye that truth cannot be always proved. Your hopes may not be fulfilled. Let me give you an instance. Pay attention to my narration. That might bring you some relief." He's saying, like, you might be scared right now, but just listen to this story to distract you. So the vampire went on. There was a rich landlord, almost a small Raja, who reposed a great trust in his manager. The administration of his estate, employment of officials, realization of dues, all were left to the decision of the manager. The landlord never objected to anything his manager said or did. People who had any complaint or who needed some favor met the manager. Soon, those who went to meet him began carrying gifts for him. If some presented him with fruits or clothes, others gave him cash. By and by, this became a practice. It was widely known that if one has to get any work done by the manager, one has to bribe him. So this manager has all the power. The manager seemed to give greater attention to those who gave him gifts. The money he received was spent in making ornaments for his wife. In a few years, his wife looked overloaded with gold. Costly furniture, including sets of ivory-clad chairs, decorated his house. There is no recognition of merit here. One's capacity to bribe the manager is the only qualification for anything, people were heard saying. So, there. There once was a young man named Banu. He was poor, but he was an excellent scholar. There he is, there on the right. At the same time, he was a moralist. That means he never wanted to do things that were not morally correct, that were unethical. He met the manager several times, seeking a certain post. No doubt he deserved that post, but he did not get it. His friends advised him to just bribe the manager. He was not willing to do that. The landlord was once camping in a bungalow. Remember, the landlord is the manager's boss, and he's leaving everything in the care of the manager. It was raining. Banu found it a good opportunity to talk to him. He braved the rain and reached the bungalow and met him. "Sir," said Banu, "I tell you that your manager is an evil and corrupt fellow. He never decides a thing impartially. Don't you know this?" he blurted out. The landlord was surprised. He had never heard such a complaint beforehand. He could not dismiss Banu's words as frivolous because he found Banu to be an educated and serious young man. "Give me a little time," says the landlord. "I shall make an investigation. If what you say proves true, I shall throw him out and make you my manager," said the landlord. The landlord had lately constructed a new temple in a nearby village. No priest had been appointed. The landlord asked 2 Brahmins to meet his managers separately. One of them was qualified for the post. The other one was illiterate, means he can't read. He gave the latter, means he gave the illiterate one, who can't read, a bag full of money. "Give this to the manager when you request him to give you the post of the priest," he instructed him. It so happened that the first of the 2 candidates, the scholarly one, had been a classmate of the manager. The manager was very happy to see his old friend. He promised to appoint him as the priest. After the first Brahmin left, the second Brahmin met the manager, the one who can't even read but has all the money. Although he offered him the money, the manager told him, "How can I appoint you as the priest when you can't even read a line of scripture?" The landlord duly learnt that the scholarly Brahmin, who met the manager without any bribe, had been appointed the priest. So hey, the manager got lucky. He passed his boss's test. He wasn't bribed this time. His impression that his manager was an honest man got confirmed. He called Banu and said, "Your complaint is baseless. My manager is not a corrupt man." "Sir," says Banu, "even a cursory look into the manager's house and at his wife, who is bedecked with ornaments like a deity, should be enough to convince you that your manager is corrupt," asserted Banu. The landlord grew pensive. That means he started thinking, maybe he has a point. He again asked for time. Next day, he paid a visit to the manager's house without giving any notice to him. The manager was delighted as well as excited. He drew an old chair and offered it to his master, said, "It is a pity that I don't have a better chair to offer you, sir." So look, he's offering him an old chair, meaning like, I don't have enough money to give you one of those ivory chairs that everyone saw. So the manager's wife came out with hot milk. While offering it to the landlord, she murmured, "It was not in my luck to serve you in a silver tumbler." Meaning, we don't have the money for silver. I just have to give you this steel tumbler. So he's getting lucky again, the manager. This boss doesn't see how much money he had. The landlord smiled and said, "Don't you worry. It was a sudden inspiration in me to take to this road. I just wanted to have a rapid survey of the nearby villages." The landlord saw no costly furniture in the house, nor did he see a single ornament in the person of the manager's wife. What he did not know was the manager's brother, who was celebrating his daughter's marriage, had borrowed the fine sets of chairs, tables, and silver utensils for a week. The lady had taken off her ornaments for cleaning and polishing them, as she was to attend the wedding the next day. He's lucky. The landlord called Banu and said, "Young man, you must be awfully jealous of my manager. You deserve punishment for speaking ill of an innocent man. However, you may go." "Innocent? Good. "Sir, your manager is a—" said Banu. "Stop! You can go." The landlord made an impatient gesture. The young man left the place in utter bewilderment. So remember, the vampire, the ghost, is telling all this story to King Vikram. So then the vampire fell into a brief silence and then resumed in a challenging tone. "O king, does it not prove that one can be wicked and evil and yet be spared of all consequence? Answer me if you can. Should you keep mum despite your knowledge of the answer, your head will roll off your shoulders." Answered King Vikram forthwith. That means immediately. "Every deed, good or evil, is bound to have its consequence, but the consequence is not always evident. If the manager was not caught at this moment, it does not mean he will never be caught. Punishment may come to one in 100 different ways. The question is, was the manager really wicked and evil? Banu might have been a worthy candidate for a post, but there is nothing to show that one who got the post for which Banu aspired was unworthy, even if he bribed him. Did the manager ever demand a bribe of anybody? No. If the people bribed him, the evil was more in the people than in him. All we can say about him is he was an ordinary man. There is a difference between the wicked and the ordinary. No sooner had King Vikram concluded that reply than the vampire, along with the corpse, gave him the slip. So he flies back into the tree, King Vikram goes back, he gets the body again, and then the ghost in there tells him another story. So there's like a set of all of these stories, and they're really, really awesome. You don't have to really agree with what King Vikram said. If you have a different answer, or you can always email this channel at indianstoryreadalong@gmail.com, and I'll definitely write back to you, but only with your parents' permission. So if you like this story, think about subscribing to this channel. I'm going to dig out all my old King Vikram stories and read them in the future as well. All right, we'll see you soon.